The restaurant smelled like polished wood and buttered beef. Ethan liked steak places with waiters who called him sir, and wine lists. That required a flashlight. I arrived 5 minutes early. On purpose. It let me choose the seat with the best view of all three of them. Sweetheart, Mom said, standing to kiss my cheek. You look thinner. Hi, Mom. I smiled. Work's been full. Ethan walked in right behind me, coat over one shoulder like he was doing a photo shoot. Birthday boy, Dad said, already half standing. There he is, 40 and thriving. Ethan grinned, clapping Dad's hand. Trying my best. Thriving, Mom repeated, looking at him the way mothers look at miracles. He kissed her cheek, then turned to me. Hey, kiddo. I'm 34. Still younger. We sat. Ethan took the head of the table. Mom and Dad flanked him like flustered PR agents. I faced them all, hands folded, mouth smiling. How's the new office? Dad asked, already beaming. Insane, Ethan said, loosening his tie. View of the whole damn skyline. And the bonus well. Let's just say my team won't be worrying about rent for a while. Mom's eyes watered. I told your father this morning. I just knew you'd get that promotion. You and half of Wall Street, Ethan joked. They laughed. I sipped water. What about you, dear? Mom asked without turning. You're still consulting. I am. Oh, must be flexible. It is. She has her own firm now, Ethan added, eyes flicking to mine. I held his gaze. It's doing well. That's great, Dad said quickly, like brushing lint from a jacket. But Ethan, this VP role, do you know how rare that is at his age? I smiled. Very. Ethan leaned forward. You'd like the office, honestly. You could run strategy from there. Still time to come back to the corporate side. You know. I like where I am. Of course, Mom said, folding her napkin just once. You always were independent, even as a baby. I remember. Dad chuckled. You hated team sports. I preferred building things. You did. Mom nodded, then turned back to Ethan. But this role, your title carries so much weight now. You could really advise some serious ventures. She could too, Ethan said, to smooth. I do, I said, holding my tone level. Just not the kind you brag about in steakhouses. There was a beat of silence. Then Ethan laughed, always sharp. Ha! I shrugged. Depends on the company. The waiter came. Menus passed like contracts. Ethan ordered rare filet. Dad followed suit. Mom picked salmon. I asked for the house salad. Still not eating red meat. Mom asked, gently disappointed. Still not pretending to enjoy it. I said. Ethan raised his glass. To family. We all clinked. The sound rang hollow. So tell us something exciting, Dad prompted. You always used to have stories. I still do, I said. Just not always ones that impress you. Dad smiled. Come on. I looked at Ethan. You know the tech firm Falconbridge? He blinked. Sure. They signed with me last week. Strategy overhaul. 6-month engagement. Ethan paused. Seriously? Seriously. Mom frowned. That's good. It's one of the top startups in the Northeast. Ethan muttered, glancing at Dad. Oh, Mom said. Processing. Well, that is impressive. I suppose. You suppose. I repeated. Dry. Dad cleared his throat. Still, you know, a good stable company job is. I'm not unstable. No, of course not. Just security, Health insurance. Structure. I looked down at my hands. My nails were clean. No polish. I didn't need varnish to prove control. Ethan, Mom said brightly. How's that villa project you mentioned? He perked up. Oh, yes. Tuscany. Delayed. But the architect's flown in. I'll show you the renderings. He passed his phone to Dad, who squinted. Mom leaned in with a soft gasp. I always dreamed of Italy, she said. Your father wouldn't fly. I leaned back, watching them glow. Their golden boy. Their polished gem. Must be nice, I said. It's just a retreat, Ethan said, shrugging like it cost pennies. You could come sometime. Would I be invited? He hesitated. If you wanted to be. I'd rather earn my views, I said. Not inherit them. That's not fair, Mom said quickly. We treat you both equally. I laughed. Quiet and warm. Do you? Dad sighed. We support you both. Support isn't the same as belief. Ethan looked uncomfortable. This isn't the time. No, I said. It's your time. Birthday, steak, spotlight. I know the script. Mom reached across the table. We love you. I know, I said. Just not for the same reasons. Silence. Again, the check came. Ethan reached first. My treat. Dad waved him off. Absolutely not. It's my dinner. I insist. They argued. I slipped my card to the waiter under the table. Ethan noticed. Really? I can afford it. He held my stare. Guess you can. I stood, smoothing my dress. Happy birthday, Ethan. You're leaving. Early day tomorrow. You used to stay for dessert. I used to wait for applause too. His mouth tightened. So, what's this? A power move? No, I said. Just clarity. I turned, nodding once at our parents. Outside, the cold bit deep. I walked alone to my car. No cake. No performance. No part left to play. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The house still smelled like lemon polish and old judgments. I sat across from them in the same dining room, where they'd once handed Ethan a leather-bound planner for his 16th birthday, and gave me a scented diary. How's the business? Dad asked, spooning sugar into his coffee. Busy, I said. Mom looked up. Still with that remote setup. I have an office now. Downtown. That's nice, she said, which meant neutral. Still just you? I've built a team. For full-time, to contractors. Dad raised an eyebrow. Payroll can be tricky. It's manageable. He nodded. Cash flow. Strong. Revenue. I sipped my tea. Also strong. Ethan chuckled. You always were vague. You always were loud. He grinned, not offended. I get it. You're a black box. Meanwhile, I just crossed for 100 in bonuses this year. 1,000? I asked, setting my cup down. Of course. I smiled. That's cute. Dad blinked. What's cute? Nothing, I said. Just happy for him. Mom leaned in. Are you saving? Investing? Yes. We could connect you with Ethan's advisor. Dad offered. He's very sharp. I have one, I said. She's excellent. She? Ethan laughed. That's rare. I looked at him. So am I. Mom shifted in her seat. You. No, we only ask because we care. You don't have to compete. I'm not, I said. I'm operating. Dad gave a small laugh, unsure if it was meant to be funny. What kind of clients do you work with? Ethan asked, casually cruel. Tech, legal, international strategy firms. consulting them on what exactly? Growth, restructuring, internal alignment. Alignment, he repeated, nodding slowly. Sounds fluffy. Not to the 12 million it helped generate last quarter. Ethan tilted his head. Wait, your clients pulled in 12. No, I said. I did. Dad blinked again. Wait, Mom said, frowning. 12. What? Million, I said, leaning back. In revenue. Ethan scoffed. You're joking. I didn't answer. How? He asked. Results. Referrals. Retainers. Dad cleared his throat. Is that annual? Quarterly? Silence. Mom's napkin slipped from her lap. She bent to retrieve it like she needed air. Why didn't you say anything? Dad asked. You never asked for numbers, I said. Only titles. Ethan leaned forward. And you're sure that's all real? Would you like to see a bank statement? His jaw clenched. No. Good. Because I'm not in the habit of justifying what I've earned. Mom finally looked at me. But you live so simply. I smiled. Freedom is the luxury. That's... She stopped. You could have told us. Why? I asked. So you could clap like you do for Ethan. Dad put his cup down harder than necessary. That's unfair. Is it? We're proud of you. You didn't even know what I do. We know now, he said. But you didn't ask. For years. Ethan exhaled. So this is about childhood? No, I said. It's about now. It's about the math you worship. Dad folded his arms. We don't worship anything. You do. I said. Promotions. Bonuses. Assets. You built a cathedral out of numbers and crowned Ethan the high priest. That's not true, Mom whispered. But accurate, I said. You just didn't expect me to build a bigger church. Is that what this is? Dad said. A power trip. No, it's clarity. Ethan shook his head. You sound like you're reading from a TED Talk. Better than reciting your LinkedIn. He stood. All right, I've had enough of this passive-aggressive lecture. I'm not being passive. Fine, he said. Aggressive, then. I'm being factual. He stared at me. What do you want? Nothing, I said. I already have everything. Mom touched my arm. Sweetheart, we didn't mean to overlook. You didn't overlook, I said. You looked directly at me and chose not to see. Dad's voice dropped. We supported you. Always. You tolerated me. You celebrated him. Ethan sat again, quieter. So what now? Now. I stood. Now we continue, just with the numbers corrected. Dad's voice was stiff. You think success makes you right? No, I said. But it makes me visible. I left the room without needing to slam a door. The silence I left behind was enough. The attic smelled like cardboard and time. I pulled down the old plastic bins, one by one, the lids stiff from years of disuse. Dust softened the light. My hands didn't shake. I knew what I was looking for. A voice echoed up the stairs. You still up there? Dad? I didn't answer. Your mother's gone to bed. Don't stay too long, all right? I waited until I heard his steps fade. Then I opened the first bin. A photo album. Baby Ethan in a red jumper, smiling. Then Ethan, at 7, gripping a baseball bat. Ethan at 10, winning a science fair. Ethan with his first car. Each picture framed like scripture. I turned the page. A photo of me, 4 years old, drawing alone. Then me in the background of Ethan's birthday. Me holding a spelling bee ribbon. cropped at the edge. The next bin had trophies. Rowing, finance club, model UN. All mine were in a showbox at the bottom. Debate medals, a science Olympiad plaque, a college graduation program with my name misspelled. I held up the debate trophy. Regional champion, 2007. You remember that? I turned. Dad stood in the doorway. You weren't supposed to be up here, I said. I couldn't sleep. I raised the trophy. You came late to the finals that year. Said traffic was bad. It was. I saw you parked across the street. You sat in the car. He didn't deny it. You were already winning. That's why you stayed outside. No, he said. I don't know. I set the trophy down. You always knew what Ethan was doing. I had to announce mine like headlines. He moved into the room. That's not true. You didn't come to my TEDx talk. I watched the video. Mom told me you were golfing. He paused. It was a mistake. No, it was a choice. He sat on a storage crate. You think we loved him more. I think you noticed him more. That's not fair. It's not a complaint, I said. It's a calculation. He frowned. A calculation. I opened another bin. Journals. I held one up. I wrote everything down. Every time you praised him in front of me. Every time you asked me to lower my voice. Every time Mom said I was too ambitious. He shook his head. Why would you track that? Because you made me doubt my memory. That's not. I needed proof. For myself. He looked away. I got my first client off a cold email. She referred me to for more. I told you. You said, Ethan closed a deal with Barclays last week. He looked tired. We never meant to compare. You didn't have to. You just did. He rubbed his face. We were proud of you. You clapped for him. You tolerated me. That's not how it felt. It's how it landed. He looked at the open album. We framed what we saw. You framed what you wanted to see. Silence settled. He didn't fight it. I stood and pulled the last bin forward. Report cards, letters, a certificate from Stanford Women in Leadership. Still unopened. You kept all this? He asked. Yes. Why? For moments like this. He blinked. To prove we failed. No, I said. To prove I didn't. His mouth opened, then closed. I handed him a photograph me at 16, standing alone after a speech tournament. No parents in sight. I won first. National qualifier. He looked down. I didn't remember. I know. He handed it back. I'm sorry. I nodded. I'm not angry. Just accurate. He reached for one of the medals. You were always more disciplined than Ethan. That's not what you told me. You said I was too intense. I didn't know how to handle you. You didn't try. He nodded slowly. No, we didn't. The silence stretched again. I looked at the box of journals. These are staying with me. He didn't argue. What do you want from us now? I want you to see me clearly. Just once. He looked at me. Really looked. I'm trying. I didn't smile. Good. I walked past him, down the attic stairs, carrying my box of proof. Not because I needed to remember, but because they finally would. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The file was still in the drawer under my printer. Cream stock, blue notary seal, stapled once in the top left corner precise, like everything Ethan commissioned. But he hadn't read it. Not really. He hadn't even known what clause 14.3 meant. I did. He'd handed it to me 3 years ago in Dad's study, smug and rushed. Need you to skim this. He said. Legal check? Dad wants your eyes on it. My little law degree is finally good for something. Don't get cute. You're the only one we know who won't charge by the hour. I took the folder. Is this your way of saying thank you? He grinned. My way of saying hurry. He didn't stay for notes. Didn't ask questions. Just assumed I'd sign off like a paralegal in a pencil skirt. I had copied the documents before giving them back. Now I opened the file again, the paper smooth beneath my hands. There it was, buried on page 18, clause 14. 3. Should the primary beneficiary become legally incapacitated, resign from fiduciary oversight, or engage in proven fraudulent activity, the trust's control shall revert to the alternate fiduciary, as named in Appendix C. Appendix C. My name. The doorbell rang. I left the file where it was and opened the door. Ethan stood there in his charcoal coat, eyes sharp. Didn't know you were stopping by? You always say that when you knew I was. I stepped aside. Come in. He walked past me, straight to the kitchen like it was still his house. I figured we should talk. After Dad's attic drama. You heard? Of course I heard. I poured coffee. Milk. Black. He sat at the counter. He says you ambushed him. He came up on his own. You keep records of everything now? I always did. He sipped, watching me. Why? Why not? Because it's obsessive. Because it's accurate. He leaned back. You think they owe you something? No, I said. I think they misunderstood me. Repeatedly. This helps. He set the mug down. Look, I get it. You're accomplished now. You want them to clap. I want them to know I was never second tier. They don't see you that way. They do. But it's fine. You always were dramatic. And you always skimmed details. He narrowed his eyes. What does that mean? I left him at the counter and walked to my study. The file was where I'd left it. When I returned, I dropped it gently beside his mug. What's this? You asked me to review this 3 years ago. He picked it up. I remember. Did you ever read clause 14.3? I signed off on everything. I know. He flipped to the clause. His lips moved slightly as he read. His voice was quiet. What is this? You named me alternate fiduciary. His eyes snapped up. Dad said it was ceremonial. Maybe. But the clause is enforceable. Jesus. So what? You think I'm going to commit fraud? You're sloppy, Ethan. Not criminal, but close. That's rich. Coming from someone who doesn't even believe in family assets. I believe in contracts. He stood. Is this a threat? No. Just context. He paced. You kept a copy. Of course. That's unethical. You waived confidentiality. He pointed at the file. You're telling me this now for what? Leverage. No. So you understand where the lines are. He looked down at the clause again. You wouldn't. I haven't. But I could. He exhaled. Jesus. You asked me to play advisor. I said. I did. This is insane. This is legal. He dropped the file on the counter. You've changed. No, I said. I've stopped hiding the parts that make you uncomfortable. He stared at me, jaw tight. This isn't who you were. It's exactly who I've always been. He grabbed his coat. You'd really do it, only if you made me. He stopped at the door. Why are you even showing me this? Because I'd rather you respect the boundary than force me to enforce it. His hand hovered on the knob. I don't need to be policed by you. Then stay clean. He opened the door, paused. You always wanted a seat at the table. I smiled. No, Ethan. I built a better table. And I closed the door behind him. The cafe was neutral ground glass walls, soft jazz, linen shirts, and laptops. I chose a window seat. No distractions behind me. Just reflection. Ethan arrived 4 minutes late, unbothered. Still punctual, he said, shrugging off his coat. Still theatrical, I replied, standing briefly. Flat white. Sure. He eyed the cup already waiting for him. You remembered. Some things stick. He sat across from me, glancing at his phone, then slipping it away. So, he started. Catch up, catch up. A pause, filled by steam hissing behind the counter. You look, he said. Professional. Sharp. I sipped my coffee. You look like someone who corrects interns. They need correcting. I'm sure they do. He smiled. So what's new? Business is steady. You hiring? Why? Curious. You've been quiet lately. I've been busy. With clients, strategy work, some restructuring, big names, a few. He leaned forward. Come on. You can tell me. You know Falconbridge? He blinked once. I firm. They signed last Thursday. He sat back. You're kidding. No. They were in talks with our team for 6 months. I know. You underbid us. No. He frowned. What then? I stirred my coffee. I listened better. He stared. What does that mean? They wanted discretion. Hands-on support. Less arrogance. His jaw twitched. And you think that's me? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. A beat. Why didn't you tell me you were pitching them? You didn't ask. You were quiet. You assumed quiet meant small. He looked away. You really got the whole account. Exclusivity. Jesus. I tilted my head. Problem? No. He said quickly. Just surprised. Don't be. I've been building quietly. He nodded. So it's a flex. It's a fact. He tapped his fingers on the table. And you brought me here to say that. I brought you here to reconnect. He narrowed his eyes. Bullshit. Ethan. No. You wanted me to feel this. You planned it. I didn't answer. He leaned in. How'd you win them? I told them the truth. Which was that I'm not you. He froze. I kept my voice even. I said I don't overpromise. I don't pitch from ego. I don't talk down. I build trust. His throat moved once. They said that. They implied it. He leaned back. So that's your angle. My angle is results. He exhaled. You've changed. No. You just hadn't noticed. He studied me. You sound cold. I'm measured. I remember when you used to ask me for advice. I remember when you used to offer it with condescension. He didn't speak. I set my cup down. You said once I'd never understand scale. I was trying to motivate you. You were trying to minimize me. He looked down. Maybe I did. I let the silence stretch. Do you hate me? He asked. No. You sure? I don't hate storms. I just build better shelters. He blinked. That's poetic. Accurate. He nodded slowly. So, what now? We go back to our lives. Rival firms. Parallel ones. For now. He half smiled. If I offer you lunch next week, do you come? Depends. Are you bringing sincerity or spin? He grinned, then shrugged. I guess we'll see. I stood. Good seeing you, Ethan. You too. Really. He didn't say thank you. He didn't need to. His silence was loud enough. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. I printed it on 32-pound ivory stock. No headers in bold. Just crisp black Garamond. A quiet kind of confidence. 5 years of data, filtered and dated. Revenue by quarter. Profit margins. Investment returns. Charitable giving. Equity positions. And 2 columns at the end comparative benchmarks. One was Ethan. The other was average. The file name had never changed. For me only until now. I slipped the pages into a slim black folder and placed it in my bag. I wasn't planning revenge. Just clarity. Mom opened the door before I knocked. You're early. I know. She stepped aside. Your father's in the den. I walked in. The same den with the same brown leather chairs, same financial magazines stacked by the fireplace. Dad looked up, glasses low on his nose. This is a surprise, he said. I brought something. Mom followed, drying her hands. You look serious. I am. I handed the folder to Dad. What's this? A comparison. He glanced at the cover. You want us to read this now? Yes. He opened the folder, scanning the first page. Mom leaned in behind asterisk, 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 asterisk. The dining room was set like we were expecting guests. Linen runner. Clean glasses. The good plates. But there was no food. Just a folder in the center of the table and 2 sincere smiles across from me. Mom folded her hands. We wanted to talk to you about something important. Of course, I said. Dad nodded. It's time we finalize the estate. I leaned back slightly. All right, we're not dying, he added quickly. Noted. But we need to have things in place, Mom said. Just in case. Practical, I said. She smiled, relieved. We assumed you'd want Ethan to handle the logistics. Why? Dad blinked. He's always been the one closest to finance. I work in finance. Well, consulting, he corrected. Not the same as. It is. Mom touched her pearls. Sweetheart, Ethan understands assets. So do I. We don't mean to offend. You rarely mean it, I said calmly. They exchanged a glance. Dad cleared his throat. We're designating him as executor. Why? He hesitated. It just made sense. Did you ask what I thought? We didn't think you'd be interested. I reached into my bag and pulled out a thick cream envelope. What's that? Mom asked. Perspective. I slid the spreadsheet across the table. Dad unfolded it, adjusting his glasses. Mom leaned closer. What is this? She asked. My numbers. 5 years. Income. Investments. Equity. Donations. Dad's brows furrowed. This can't be right. It is. Mom's voice dropped. You made this much last year. Yes. She looked up. How? By being overlooked. It gave me time to build. Dad scanned down the rows. Philanthropy. $1 for 160,000. Scholarships. Women-owned business grants. Pro bono consulting. Mom looked shaken. Why didn't you say anything? I was never asked. We thought. You assumed, I said. Repeatedly. Dad's voice turned defensive. This isn't a competition. It always was. You just never told me I was allowed to play. Mom reached out, fingers trembling. We're proud of you. You're surprised by me. She lowered her hand. That too. I tapped the spreadsheet. These are the numbers you never saw. Dad folded the paper slowly. You came here to show off. I came here to correct a record. This doesn't change the plan. I didn't ask you to change it. Just to understand it's based on an outdated image. He looked tired. You think Ethan can't handle it. I think Ethan doesn't see you. He sees leverage. Mom flinched. That's unfair. No, I said. It's precise. Dad exhaled. So what do you want? Nothing. That's the point. Silence. Mom touched the folder. Maybe we revisit the structure. I won't contest it, I said. I don't need your estate. I needed you to see. Dad looked at me for a long moment. We missed a lot, didn't we? Yes. Mom swallowed. I'm sorry. I believe you. The room was still. Her hand trembled against the glass. You always seemed so self-sufficient, she whispered. I was. Because I had to be. They didn't argue. I stood. You can keep the spreadsheet. Dad nodded once. We will. I walked out, not in anger, but in power. And they stayed at that table, finally counting the cost. It was nearly 8 when the knock came, 3 short taps, then one slower. I didn't check the peephole. I already knew. Ethan stood there, hands in his coat pockets, eyes lower than usual. I didn't call, he said. I noticed. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He walked in slowly, like the walls might remember something he didn't want to feel. Still smell like cedar in here, he murmured. I changed the floors last year. Still smells the same. I didn't answer. He lingered near the kitchen island, not sitting, not moving. I saw the spreadsheet, he said. I figured. He looked down. I didn't know half of it. You didn't ask. I didn't think I had to. That's always been your problem. He nodded. Yeah. I leaned against the counter. So? He rubbed the back of his neck. I used to think you were difficult. I was precise. You mistook it for trouble. I mistook a lot of things. I waited. I was jealous, he said. Finally. Of what? Of you not needing them the way I did. Of you doing things your way. I studied him. You always acted like you had it all. I did what they expected. Every step. Ivy League, banking, the right ring, the right parties. You played their game. I played it so long I forgot I had a name under it. I said nothing. I watched you walk away. He went on. And I told myself you were lost. But you weren't. You just refused to perform. Someone had to. He looked at me. They didn't clap for you. No. And you kept going. I had to. His voice dropped. I didn't. Silence stretched between us, filled only by the hum of the fridge. I'm sorry, he said, for mocking your work. For playing golden boy when I knew it wasn't real. You enjoyed it. Yeah, he said. And it rotted something in me. I exhaled, slow and quiet. You don't have to forgive me, he added. I wasn't planning to. He nodded, eyes low. Fair. I turned toward the cabinet. You still take your coffee black? Yeah. I poured it without asking if he wanted any. Set the mug down across the table. He looked at it like it might bite him. Then he sat, wrapping both hands around the heat. This is better than the stuff at my place. You used to steal mine, I said. I know. I hated that. He smiled, faint. You always let me. I took the seat across from him. Neither of us moved for a while. This doesn't fix everything, he said. No. But it's something. Maybe. He glanced at the window. You ever think it could have been different? If we'd been raised to see each other clearly? Sure. Too late now. Maybe not too late, I said. Just late enough to mean something. He met my eyes. This is the closest we've ever been. That's not saying much. No, he agreed. but it's something. I watched him sip the coffee, shoulders lower than I'd ever seen. I didn't say I forgave him, but I didn't ask him to leave. And for us, that was a beginning, or the end of pretending we never needed one. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The leasing office was quiet, almost reverent. A glass bowl of peppermints on the counter, a faint citrus scent, soft jazz humming from the ceiling speakers. I signed with a firm stroke. My full name, no prefixes, no middle initials, no need for explanation. Is it okay if we file this electronically? The agent asked. Yes, and I'd like the nameplate outside the door to match the lease. Absolutely. No title, no Mr., Miss, Ms., or Doctor, just my name. I left with the keys cool in my hand. 3 weeks later, I sat alone in a co-working lounge, finalizing wire instructions. A small grant account, seeded from my private equity dividends. I'd called it the Wexler Fund after my mother's maiden name. The administrator on the phone confirmed the launch. You're listed as anonymous, she asked. Yes. Would you like to attach any personal message to the recipients? No, I said. Just the standard language. She hesitated. Most donors include a quote or just let them use it. Understood. The first batch of applicants had already been filtered. Young women under 25. First-generation students. Those starting small businesses in rural counties. Places I knew by feel, if not by name. I closed the laptop. The cafe chatter behind me faded to a low, unimportant buzz. My phone vibrated. A text from a number I didn't save anymore. Saw the announcement in the alumni bulletin. Thought it might be you. Wexler. I replied. Thought correctly. Why that name? It's the part of her they couldn't distort. No response. I didn't need one. At the mailbox in the new building, a handwritten envelope waited. No return address. Just a wax seal. Inside, a note from a girl named Sarita, 19, Texas. I don't know who you are, she wrote, but you believed in me before anyone else did. There was a Polaroid of her holding a small certificate. The ink had smudged slightly from her thumb. I folded the letter carefully and placed it on the empty shelf in my entryway. No frames, no labels, just presents. That weekend, at a gathering downtown, a woman from the Chamber of Commerce approached me, her voice curious. I keep hearing about this Wexler Fund. You know who's behind it? I've heard the name, I said. It's a good one. She nodded. We need more of that. Quiet generosity. I smiled. There's power in not needing credit. Still, someone should thank her. They will, I said. Just not directly. She moved on. By Sunday, I had placed the first nameplate on my new office door. Not etched, not brass, just simple vinyl. White on black. Wexler Group Private Advisor. No descriptor. No apology. Inside, no family photos. No degrees. Just the WORKA knock came mid-morning. The building manager peeked in. Sorry. Just curious, are you the principal here? Yes. Not many of those, he said, grinning. They said someone serious moved in. I held his gaze. They were right. He chuckled, nodded, and left. I shut the door behind him. In the stillness, I stood tall. For the first time, nothing about me was borrowed. Everything on the walls, everything in the air, was mine. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Christmas Day. The table was set with red chargers and polished silver. Place cards in Mom's handwriting. Ethan's name had a gold star next to it. Mine didn't. Your coat? Mom asked. I'll keep it on. She frowned, but didn't argue. The house was too warm, too staged. Ethan was already at the table, swirling a glass of wine like he'd been waiting for a camera crew. Still no +1, he said. Still no need. Dad chuckled. You always were independent. Mom gestured to the gift pile. We didn't know what you needed, so we did small things. Stocking stuffers. That's fine. Ethan leaned back. You didn't bring anything. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a white envelope. This is it. Dad took it, glanced at the back. What is it? Open it. He tore the flap, pulled out the single sheet. Thick paper. Black serif font. $140 to 1000.00. Transferred December 20th to. Rebuild Her Initiative. What is this? Mom asked. A donation, I said. Ethan looked up. That number. That's the sticker price of your new car. I said. Before taxes. Dad read the slip again. You gave this away. I invested it. To strangers. To women rebuilding their lives. You know. In case you want to compare returns. Mom's voice thinned. That's not fair. Neither was the scoreboard you used for 30 years. Ethan leaned forward. So this is a performance. No. That was your Porsche in the driveway. This is precision. Dad placed the paper down. You didn't need to do this. I know. Mom's lip trembled. You're trying to prove something. I already proved it. Now I'm just documenting. Silence. Ethan shifted. You're really going to make this about ego? I looked at him. Mine or yours? He looked away. Dad cleared his throat. We're too old for this. Then stop measuring. Mom reached for my hand. I let her. We didn't mean to compare. You did it every day, I said. You just didn't track the cost. We're proud of you, she whispered. You're surprised by me. That's different. She blinked. I turned to Dad. Still think legacy is about who holds the title? He didn't answer. You can still compare, I said, standing. But make sure you're looking at the right balance. I walked toward the door. No gifts. No applause. Just clarity left in the center of their perfect table. It was a Tuesday when Mom called. Not for a reason, just to ask if I'd seen the frost. I hadn't. You used to love it, she said. Remember? You'd trace it on the windows with your finger. I grew out of it, I said gently. Pause. You sound tired. I'm not. Are you coming Sunday? Ethan's bringing a casserole. I'll stop by. She hesitated. Don't feel obligated. I don't. We hung up after 2 more pleasantries and a reminder that my father still couldn't work the thermostat. I didn't offer to help. Sunday came gray and cold. I wore black not for drama, but because it was clean. Mom greeted me at the door like I was a guest. You brought something. Just me. You're early. I'm not staying long. She nodded, stepping aside. The house hadn't changed. Photos of Ethan at every age. A few outdated shots of me in the hallway, usually off-center. Dad was in the living room, adjusting the TV volume. You still watching the news? I asked. He turned, startled. You came. I said I would. He stood. We made lasagna. I'm not hungry. You used to love it. I used to eat what was offered. He studied me, searching for sarcasm. I gave him none. Ethan walked in from the kitchen. Look who showed. Don't overdo it, I said. He smirked. Right? Mom motioned toward the table. Come sit, just for a bit. I did. Out of politeness, not need. Ethan passed a bowl of salad. Still vegan? No. Still judging? Not. Today. Dad cleared his throat. We were thinking of doing a family trip. Spring, maybe. Italy. Lovely. You could come. I could. Ethan raised an eyebrow. That's not a yes. It's not a no. Mom reached for my hand, then stopped herself. We're trying, she said. I know. It's just, you're different now. I stopped applying. She blinked. To what? To be accepted. Silence folded over the table. I never asked you to, Dad said. You never had to. Ethan picked at his bread. So what now? You just float above us. No, I said. I stand next to you. Without shrinking. I never asked you to shrink. He mumbled. No, you just took up space. Mom's voice was small. And we watched. I nodded. Yes. The room stayed still. I don't hate you, I said. I just recalibrated. Dad looked up. What does that mean? I don't expect anything from you. That's worse, he said. It's freedom. Mom's eyes shone, but she didn't cry. I stood. Thanks for the invitation. You're leaving already? She asked. Yes. Will you come again? If I feel like it. Ethan leaned back. Guess we'll take what we can get. That's new for you. He smiled, faint, fair. I reached the door, paused, then turned. You don't have to change, I said. I already did. They didn't respond. I walked out into the cold, no longing behind me. Just air, just peace. Asterisk, 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 asterisk I used to keep ledgers like a ritual neat. Columns, color-coded tabs, formulas nested like secrets. They were clean, reliable, obedient. Numbers never lied. But they didn't tell the whole truth either. My story did. Impressive portfolio. The man across the table said, Navy suit, expensive watch. Skin like he rarely stepped outside of air conditioning. Your firm's projections outpaced ours last quarter. We work in silence, I said. He smirked. Is that code for stealth or shame? Neither. It's how you win. He shifted. So, where did you come from? I was built, not born. He blinked. Excuse me. I smiled. You asked where I came from. I wasn't handed anything. I constructed it. He chuckled. You sound like a slogan. No, I said. I sound like someone who's not interested in explaining herself. He glanced at my assistant standing nearby. She always like this. She's always accurate. My assistant replied. Later, at a networking event, a younger woman pulled me aside. You're her, right? Her Wexler Fund. I got one of your grants. I don't accept thanks. She shook her head. Then I'll just say your silence helped me speak louder. I nodded. That's the return. I was invited to speak at a summit, panel on leadership. I declined the spotlight but offered 3 questions for the audience. Who are you? Without applause. Whose metric are you measuring by? What would your ledger say if it had no numbers? They posted them on screen anyway. That was enough. Ethan texted a photo. Our parents, holding the Christmas envelope I left. No caption. Just the image. I replied. Did they finally read it? He wrote back. They framed it. I didn't answer. Some things don't need closure. Only conclusion. That evening, over dinner with a client, the waiter asked casually, "And what do you do?" I met his eyes. I run things. He raised a brow. Like what? Balance sheets. Boardrooms. Futures. He nodded slowly. Sounds important. It is. But more importantly, it's mine. When I lock my office at night, there's no echo, no ghosts, just the low hum of a space built by intention. Behind my desk, a frame, not a diploma, not an award, just white paper, black ink, 3 words. I remember everything. That's all I ever needed, and more than they ever gave me. But now, it's enough.